This conference will now be recorded.
Today, let us enter into the next part of our course. That is, we'll be starting off with frameworks. So before we enter into these frameworks, like Hibernate and Spring, let us understand one of the very important tool, that is Maven tool. That's what Maven tool. Let us initially go with Maven tool, which we call Apache Maven tool. So what is this Apache Maven tool here is? It's mainly used to create the projects. You can see Maven is a powerful project management tool. Maven is what? It is a powerful project management tool. Maven is used to build projects. Maven is mainly used for what? To create the projects. Okay. The main use of going with Maven here is like, this is the main use. Maven is used to add the project dependencies jar files into the project. If you remember in JDBC, in order to connect to MySQL database, we have downloaded MySQL connector 8 version jar file and we have added to the build path, right? So only one jar file, no issues. But when we come to the frameworks like Hibernate and Spring, we may require to download so many jar files and we need to add that jar files to the build path. So remembering that many jar file names and adding to the build path is the complex part to the developers. That is a place where we use this Maven tool. Maven is used to create the right project structure. Maven is used to create what? Right project structure. We can easily know where to create .java files, where to create HTML, JSP files, like that. Then, Maven is used to build and deploy the project. Maven is used for what? To build and deploy the project. Now, let us see how to create a Maven project. Creating a Maven project in Eclipse. How to create a Maven project in Eclipse is, just let us open Eclipse. Then I'm going to choose the workspace in our folder Hibernate. However, I'm going to start with Hibernate. So I'm just choosing the workspace as Hibernate in our folder. Any folder, it's up to you. So it is taking some time to open Eclipse. Close the welcome screen. Create a Maven project. How to create a Maven project is click on File, New, and at the top only you can see Maven project. Now, here you can go with the two ways, like create a simple project. When you go with this create a simple project, it is going to skip the archetype selection. Means what type of project you want to create, that we cannot choose here. If I remove this, it will go here. See, when I click on next, it will ask you the catalog. Select your catalog internal, and in artifact ID we have to select this one, Maven-archetype quick start. So when I go with this Maven-archetype quick start, it is for standalone applications. It is for what? Standalone. If I want to go with web applications, here we have to choose web app. Maven-archetype web app is for web applications. So for now, I'm just going with quick start. Even without selecting archetype, that also I'll be showing to you. So for now, I'm just going with this Maven-archetype quick start and say next. Then it will ask you the group ID. So I'm going with group ID like Maven. Any values? Artifact ID. The meaning of artifact ID is the project name. The project name what you want to give. So I'm going with the name first Maven project package com.maven. Package com.maven means where you want to store your .java files. Then just click on finish button. That's it. Which is going to create the project first Maven project. Let me document how to create. Click on file, new Maven project. Click next. Simply click next. Then in catalog, select internal. In artifact ID, select Maven-archetype quick start. Click next. Then it will ask you the group ID. I'm going with group ID like Maven. Artifact ID means the project name. I'm going with the project name like first Maven project. This is your project name. In the package where you want to store your .java files, I'm going with the name com.maven. All these three values are our wish. Click finish, which creates the Maven project here, first Maven project. Now, if you expand this, you can find a file pym.xml file. This is important for us. Maven means pym.xml file only. So the root tag is what? Project. So in this XML file only, we add the project dependencies. In this only, we have to add project dependencies. So what is the important file here? Once you create project pym.pom.xml, which we call project object model. In this pym.xml file, we add the project dependency files. Project is the root element of pym.xml file. So during interview times, they'll ask you about the root elements of XML files. So remember all the root elements of all the XML files, what we discuss. Now let us see how to add this MySQL connector. When we have linked JDBC, we have added MySQL connector now. There we have downloaded the file and we added to the build path. Now let us see how to do the same job using Maven tool now. How to add that project dependency using Maven tool. So this is the major step of Maven now. To add MySQL connector -java if in the version I'm going with 8 version 8.3.30.jar file into the project using Maven. How to add a jar file into the project using Maven? Let us see now. For this, just to go to search engine like Google and say MySQL connector Java Maven. End with Maven. That's it. End with the word Maven. Whichever the dependency you require, you type it and end with Maven. Let me show this. MySQL connector Java Maven. The first link, whatever it is showing to you, Maven repository, mvnrepository.com. Open this link. Now here you can see MySQL connector Java and you can see the versions. Now let us suppose in our operating system we are having MySQL 5 installed. Let us suppose in our operating system we are having MySQL 5 installed. Then you can go with any 5 version. So I'm clicking the version 5.1.45. Then now here what we need to do, we need to copy this code. So Maven means what? Maximum simple copy and paste codes only. So we have to just copy this code. How to copy? Just to click in the box. When you just click in the box, the code will get copied. When you just click in the box, the code will get copied. Then just come back to your pym.xml file. Come back to pym.xml file. In between dependencies element, we have to paste it. This piece of code. So just copy and paste work. Now once we save it, see now in Maven dependencies, if you expand this Maven dependencies, see the jar file got included to your project. So just adding this piece of code, copy and paste work will add the jar file into the project. So this is the way we add jar files into the project using Maven. Here only one jar file, no issues. But when we come to frameworks like Hibernate and Spring, we may require to add so many jar files. So just copy and paste work will add so many jar files to us. That will be seeing when I come to Hibernate Framework. Clear up to here, all of you? Right? Now let us see one more advantage of Maven now. One more advantage. So let us suppose we are not having Maven tool. Let us suppose what? We are not having Maven tool. Now we have added MySQL 5 version jar file to the project. So let us suppose in our operating system we are having MySQL 5 installed. For that reason we have downloaded MySQL 5 connector jar file and added to the build path. Now in future we have upgraded our system to MySQL 8 version now. Then what are the steps? If no Maven, what are the steps? We have to remove the 5 version jar file, then download 8 version jar file and add it to the build path. These many steps we need to do if you are not having Maven tool. Now see the advantage of Maven. Now if I want to change the version, just to come to this dependency and change the version over here. What is the version I want? 8.0.30. Just to change the version number and save it. Change version number and save it. Then automatically see it has removed 5 version jar file and added with what? 8 version jar file. So just changing this version here. So this is one more advantage of going with Maven. Version management will also be easy when I use Maven tool. To add this, what I need to do? Copy the below code and paste in between dependencies element. In between dependencies element of pym.xml file. So what are the dependencies you are adding? We have to paste it in where? In between dependencies element. Remember this. However, I'll be sharing this file to you. Right? Any questions up to here?
Sir, this is a kind of simplification of the process, right? Uh,
Right, that's it. Reducing burden to the developers.
yes.
Okay. No. So we'll understand more of this Maven as we enter into the frameworks. How simple it is. How simple it makes the task of developers. Now, let us start off with the frameworks part. What is this framework is like? A framework is a group of predefined libraries. What makes a framework? It's a group of predefined libraries which comes with set of jar files. Whenever I say framework, it is a library. How the library is given to us? In the form of jar files. So to add these jar files into the project only, we use Maven tool. Then frameworks will provide some common logics required for the project. So what do you mean by some common logics? Like example, some common logics like example is like, so when you go with the projects, most of the cases we do database connections because without database, no projects, because we have to hold the data permanently. To hold data permanently, what we require? Database. So from Java program, if I want to connect to database, we have to write the code. So that connecting to database is the common logic here. So these common logics are provided by your framework. Then we can use that connection for transactions purpose, for executing your SQL commands. So in that way, it is reducing burden to the developers, not write these common logics again and again. Then frameworks provides reusable components. So some of the code will be given to us, just we need to use that ready-made code to us. Then, because of these frameworks will reduce the burden to the developers. So since framework is taking care of majority of the piece of code, so it is going to reduce some burden to the developers. Now, in our course, we are going to learn two important frameworks. One is Hibernate Framework and one more is Spring Framework related to Java. We are going to learn what? Hibernate Framework and Spring Framework. Then, under Spring Framework, it goes with the modules. It contains the modules. So we are going to see some of the important modules like Spring Core or Bean module, Spring DAO module, very important, data access object, Spring DAO module, where we go with three submodules, Spring JDBC module, Spring ORM module, where we integrate with Hibernate, Spring Data JPA module, and we go with one more Spring MVC module. This is mainly used to develop web applications. It's for web applications. Next one, Spring Boot module, very important. Spring Boot module. Next one, Spring REST module. This is for used to develop REST APIs. It's for distributed purpose. Distribution application means one application can interact with other application. So if you remember, like if you go with Amazon, from after adding the products, we want to go with payment process. So if I choose, we are having different payment process like net banking, credit card, debit card, UPI payments like that. So if I choose net banking, and in that if I choose like Access Bank, from Amazon it is going to redirect to Access Bank. Means Amazon and Access Bank are communicating. So this communication we do by using what? REST APIs. Distributed, we call them as distributed. Then even we are going to see one more, microservices. Microservices using Spring Boot. Develop using Spring Boot. And one more, we go with Angular framework also. We are left out in web technologies, Angular framework. These are the contents which are left out for us in our codes. So for this will take 3 classes including today. Spring framework 6 classes. Microservices using Spring Boot 2 classes. Angular 3 classes. And one more, before we go to Angular, we'll discuss one more, JUnit tool using mocking. It will take 1 day. So 6, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So approximately 15 more classes for us to complete our remaining part of codes. Okay, so every day is important. Don't miss the classes. I'll go very slowly. I will go very slowly. I want to push a lot of things in one day. Every day we'll take some module and we complete. Like for example, Spring JDBC module, and we'll complete that only. Then you practice as it is. That's enough. Whatever I'm taking in the class, just practice and browse more on that in YouTube or Google. Then you'll be totally confident with all these topics. Right? Any questions, anyone up to here? So today I'll just go with Hibernate introduction. Practical, let me start from next class only. So practical will take more time to complete. So which I'll start practical next class. Now, let us go with Hibernate framework. Very, very important one. Hibernate framework. What is this Hibernate? They'll ask you, what is Hibernate? Hibernate is what type of framework? This is the question what they are going to raise you. So the answer is Hibernate is an ORM framework. Hibernate is what type of framework? ORM framework. Then ORM stands for Object Relational Mapping. ORM stands for what? Object Relational Mapping. You should be able to elaborate this ORM. You should remember the expansion compulsory. Now, let me elaborate what is this ORM using a diagram. This diagram is very important so that you can elaborate easily using the same diagram. Here we are having one small definition. Pojo class. What is this Pojo is? Pojo stands for plain old Java object. Pojo stands for what? Plain old Java object. Which is a Java Bean class without events. What is this? It's a Java Bean class without events. So Pojo class, Java Bean, they are like synonyms only, both are same. But when we go with Java Bean, we can even go with some calculation methods, some event methods. So calculation methods only we call event. But in Pojo class, only private properties, constructors, setters, getters, and toString method only. Only these things should be there. No calculation methods. Then we call Pojo class. Now, like example, if you take a class employee. Take a class employee. Here we go with the private properties like private int employee number, private string employee name, private double salary. So these are private properties. Then for every property we should have a setter method. Setter means giving the value to property like this: public void set envo, which takes argument int envo, and we'll say this dot envo equal to envo. So setter method is doing what? Giving the value to this property envo. Then public int get envo. Then you call the method get envo, which returns the value of your property. Return env. Like that, we should have setters and getter methods for every property. Set envo. Compulsory the method name should start with the set get only. And here if I write something like employee number, my own method name, then this is not Java bin or this is not Pojo. The method name should match with the property name compulsory. Whatever the name we have taken, no, compulsory should match. Envo means envo only. Set get only. Okay. So like that we should have set ename, get ename, set salary, get salary. Then we call Java bin or project class. It's mainly to hold the data. It's mainly for what purpose? To hold the data in the form of objects. So if I want to go with employee data, employee class, student data, student class, customer data, customer class, like that. Now, after creating this project class, we create object of your class. So to create objects, employee emp equal to new employee. We are creating the object. Now, after creating object, we set the values like emp dot set envo, we pass 111, emp dot set ename, the name, emp dot set salary, then the salary. Now the object is ready with values. The object is now ready with values. Now the objective is I want to take this object data and put it into database table. What is our objective now? I want to take this object data means the employee number, name and salary. These three values we want to keep it into a database table. Here we go with a database table, employee table. Going with 3 columns. So here we go with 3 columns, employee number, employee name and salary. Now what is our objective? I want to take this EMP object data which contains 3 values 111 Rajan 8000. This we want to insert into table. Then, now if I go with JDBC, how to write the code? So we go with first load the driver class, establish connection. After establishing connection, what we do? We go with prepared statement, st equal to con.prepare statement. Then we write here insert into employee values. Now what values I should replace? Your employee number, name and salary. How to get the value of your employee number? By calling which method? emp.getInfo. By using object, when you call the method getInfo, which returns the value of employee number, which is 111 in our example. So whenever you want to replace a value of variable, value here, what symbol we have to use? Double quote plus the variable name or the method name where it's going to replace the value plus double quotes. So already I discussed this in JDBC. Then comma, single quote, double quote. Why single quote? Employee name is of type string. So for string, we use single quote. So single quote, double quote plus emp.getEname, comma, double quote plus emp.getSalary. emp.getSalary. Right? So this is the way we use to write the statement. Then we call the method st.execute update. So when you call the method st.execute update, these three values will get inserted into the table. So this is the way we use to write the code up to now. Hope you remember this JDBC. So to understand Hibernate, the prerequisite is JDBC. Now, understand carefully now. When you go with JDBC, we are having some drawbacks. The drawbacks are like, in future, if you add a new property department number, now the things will become simple. See, in this class, if you add a new property department number, do we need to modify this JDBC code? Do we need to modify?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, right? We have to modify. Because again, we have to say emp.getDNO like that. Means whenever we modify our Java bin class, that is project class, every time we have to come back to JDBC program and modify our code. Because JDBC is not playing with object directly. It's not playing with object directly. It's taking one value and using. It's taking what? One value and using. So it's not playing with objects directly. Because JDBC is not object oriented. It won't play with objects directly. Then one more drawback. One more drawback is, let us suppose initially we are connecting to MySQL database. We are writing this JDBC program to go with MySQL database. In future, we have changed it to Oracle. In future, we have changed it to Oracle. Then do we need to modify your SQL command again? Yes. Because some SQL commands may differ from database to database. So that's the reason we have to come back to JDBC program and modify our SQL commands. So because JDBC is database dependent. So what are the drawbacks? Drawbacks of JDBC: not object oriented, means it won't play with objects directly. Then database dependent. Database dependent. Now, how this problem is resolved now? This is the place where we go for what? This is the place where we go for ORM frameworks. This is the place where we go for ORM. That is Hibernate. In case of Hibernate, we simply use the method save or persist. And just to pass the object, let me go with the method persist only, because save method is deprecated, means older. Persist emp. Okay, or you can even say save emp. Anything is fine. So persist means insert. So I'm directly passing object here. I'm passing what? Object. So when I give this object, then what it is going to do? It is going to take this complete object data and just insert this complete object data into the table. So when I just call the method persist or save, it's going to take your employee data and inserts the data into the table. Okay. And so I'm playing with object here. So in future, to the employee class, if I add some more new properties, no worries, because the method I need not come to Java program and modify, because I'm playing with objects. So because ORM Hibernate is object oriented. And one more advantage, in let us suppose you are writing the code initially for MySQL, and in future if I change to Oracle, nothing to worry, because these methods will remain common for any database. So whatever the database it may be, these methods are same. So I need not touch the Java code to modify our program, because ORM frameworks are what? Database independent. So what are the benefits? ORM frameworks are object oriented, they play with objects. ORM frameworks are database independent. Whatever the database it may be, the code will remain same. In this one, this EMP is what? It's an object. EMP is what here? It's an object. Then employee table. Employee tables are also known as entities, or even we call them as relation. Tables are also known as entity, or even we call them as relation. And what you are doing, see, object relation. We are mapping, we are connecting object and relation. That's the reason the name has come, object relation mapping. Relation means your database table only. Since you are connecting both, the name has come object relation mapping. Clear all of you about ORM? Any questions?
Sir, ORM, this part is clear, but there is one question in Pojo and Java Beans.
Okay.
Are they exactly same, or like which one is the subset of which? Like if we look at the hierarchy,
Pojo is a subset of Java Beans, you can say.
okay,
Pojo is a subset of Java Beans. Okay, simple. They are terminologies only. Don't worry too much on this. Just terminologies. So when I say Java Bean, we can go with even calculation methods also, like calculate net salary, calculate gross salary, in add book, insert book, like that, anything. But Pojo means simple plain, means only private properties, constructors, setters, getters, and toString method. That's it. No calculation method. That's the meaning called as without events. Clear?
okay, yeah.
Simple terminologies we use in the industry. These are terminologies we use. Pojo means simple plain class. Java Bean means they can even go with some calculation methods. Okay, so you can call this one as your Java Bean now, or you can even say Pojo. Anything is fine, no problem at all. Anything is fine.
Fine.
Okay, now let us go with Hibernate overview. Hibernate is an ORM solution. It's an ORM solution for Java, and it raised as an open source persistent means permanent data, to store the data, persistent framework created by Gavin King. Hibernate, what Hibernate is going to do is Hibernate maps Java classes to database tables. Hibernate maps what? Java classes to database tables and Java class properties with the table columns. Using Hibernate XML mapping file. When we go with Hibernate, we need to create one XML file which we call Hibernate XML mapping file. In that file, what we do, we are going to map our class with the table and Java class properties with the table columns. This one. So we map first the class with the table, then these properties with the table columns. So that mapping we do by using what? Hibernate XML mapping file. Like example, the names will be like emp.hbm.xml. So the file name can be anything, but extension we go with hbm.xml. hbm means Hibernate mapping XML. Then Hibernate sits between Java objects and database. So we create Java objects and we give these objects to Hibernate, and Hibernate will connect to database. We can even take a record from database table, give it back to Java object. Let me even modify in the diagram, I miswrote. So I'm just taking object into table. We can even take a record from table and we can give it back to Java object. Both the directions are possible. Then provides, this is important, provides simple APIs, means libraries, simple APIs for storing and retrieving Java objects directly to and from the database. So the methods here is like persist or save method. This save method is, remember, deprecated. The save method is deprecated. Okay, so this save in persist method, save method means what? Deprecated means old. They have removed in higher versions. So from the latest version is Hibernate 6 now. So in Hibernate 6, they have removed this save method. So up to Hibernate 5, we can use save method. From Hibernate 6, they have made it as deprecated. So the save method is like insert command. It is like insert command. Then now we use merge. That is update method. We used to do previously update method. This is deprecated now. Deprecated. So this merge method is for what? Update command. Merge method is for update. Remove. In the older versions, we used to use delete. In the older, it is delete. From Hibernate 6, it is remove. Means delete command. Get our list. Get our list method is for select command. So we can use same methods here, select command. Okay. So this is the major thing. If you understand this, so your major part of Hibernate is done for us. Okay. Every programmer should know how to do these CRUD operations. Right. So we'll be showing everything. I'm going to discuss practically to you. In Hibernate, we create Hibernate XML configuration file. In Hibernate, we create Hibernate XML configuration file in which we configure the database connections. In which we configure what? The database connections like driver class. Whenever you want to connect to database, what details we have to provide? Driver class, URL, username, and password. Hope you remember this. We discussed it in JDBC. And even I have used the same thing in Servlets also. So by providing driver class, URL, username, and password, we get the database connection. Then, and in this XML file, we refer to Hibernate XML mapping files. So in this XML file, we can refer to this mapping file. So what is the main use of Hibernate XML configuration file? It is going to do the database connection, and even it is going to refer to the mapping files what we are using in the application. Like example, we go with the name hibernate.cfg.xml. CFG means configuration XML file. Now, if there is, this is the main use of Hibernate, if there is a change in database, means initially we have written this the program, the Hibernate application for MySQL database. In future, you have changed it to Oracle. Then what I should do? Just to come to this configuration file, and change the connection properties. I need not touch the Java code because these methods will remain common for any database. So that's meaning if there is a change in database, then the only need to change is XML file properties. If there is a change in database, then what I need to do, the only need to change is what? XML file properties. So just to go to this configuration file, go to the database connection properties and modify it. That's it. Okay, clear all of you? The introduction of Hibernate. Right, today all theoretical. So let me stop here today. Next class, Monday, we'll see the complete practical application. We'll be learning how to create a Maven project and how to add the Hibernate project dependencies into the project using Maven. Then we create one project class and we create the XML files like mapping file and configuration file. Then we create one test class so that we can take the object of class and persist into table. So that complete application we'll be seeing in the next class. Okay, so don't miss next class, very, very important. Anyone any questions?
Sir, if we are using Hibernate, then there is no need to use JDBC, right? Only Hibernate is sufficient.
Yes. That's the main thing. But to under Hibernate, JDBC will work actually. So Hibernate is not independent. Internal code of Hibernate is JDBC only. Because in JDBC only we have learned about all these connection properties, right?
Okay, so JDBC is essentially to write the core DB commands, which Hibernate will internally convert, right?
Right. So that JDBC code internally Hibernate is going to do. So JDBC is under the hood of Hibernate. So the under working of Hibernate is JDBC only. But as a programmer, you need not remember JDBC code now. Only connection properties are enough. Only this is enough to learn Hibernate.
In pom.xml, only the Hibernate will be mentioned, right?
Pom.xml is not related to Hibernate, remember. Pom.xml is used for what purpose? To add the dependencies, that's it, jar files.
Okay, so in project, let's say, so for Hibernate also, there would be some dependency or libraries.
Yes. In the libraries, again, we have to add this one also. So whichever the database you are connecting, respect to the database, we have to add the jar file. So this one also I have to add, and even Hibernate properties also. Hibernate dependencies also we should add.
Right.
If
So
I am
that was the
connecting to
question, right?
Oracle, yeah. If I am connecting to Oracle, I have to replace this with Oracle now. DB2 means I have to replace with a DB2. That's it. But Hibernate should be there. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So we'll be discussing the complete practical application. We'll be discussing, and once we see our first application of Hibernate, no, then you see the difference between Hibernate and JDBC. Okay. Right. So nowadays people are using Hibernate to go with the database connections over JDBC. Right? Because we play with objects here. So don't miss the next class. Very, very important. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.